Okay, so before I do anything, I realize I have not told you how to do the proof. The proof is very easy. You just do begin proof, end proof. Now we can start the proof. Let f ... Okay, so I'm just going to show you what that looks like. Notice it ends with a square here. If you come over here, if you want a different square, you can come down here for proofs and get changing the QED symbol if you want to do something different, and you can do that, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to talk much about that, or that's all I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so now for theorem numbering. So typically we would have a section. So I'm going to talk about sections in just a second. Let me get rid of that, but that's actually what we're going to do. So so there's different ways that we can do this. So the first thing that I can do here, so this would typically not be how this used. I'm going to put a thing here, theorem. Now what this means is the counter for proposition is going to reset every time. Sorry, when you put an optional argument here, it means the counter is going to get reset anytime one of those happens. So let me just show you by example. So I'm going to recompile this. So I've got theorem 2, proposition 3.1. Sorry, there's remark 3. Hold on. Sorry, I had a little mistake there. Okay, so I've got theorem 2. I had something here that I shouldn't have there. So this is what it should look like. I've got definition 1. Definition is on its own counter. Theorem 1, it is on its own counter. Now we have proposition 1.1. So it's like sort of doing this under the theorem environment. So we have theorem 1, and then we've got proposition 1.1, which is kind of like under the theorem environment. Typically we wouldn't do it like this. We would have something like this, maybe a corollary 1.1, which would go under the theorem environment. Okay, now we get to theorem 2. Now, since I have theorem there, it's going to reset the counter each proposition, each time the theorem environment gets used. So I've got theorem 2 here, and now it's going to reset the counter. It's going to be proposition 2. The proposition 2 is because it's 2 there, and then it's going to start over at 1. So for example, if I were to do a theorem right here, theorem west wind. Obviously that's not a theorem, but just using it as a sample, we've got theorem 3 is going to set this over to 3.1. Okay. A way we also can do this is, let's just say we want them all, like I don't want definition 1 and then theorem 1. I want definition 1, theorem 2, proposition 3, theorem 3, remark 4, theorem 4, proposition 5. Let's say I want something like that. Well, to do that, I'm going to, instead of putting theorem there, I'm going to put the optional argument in between. So there, 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 and there. And what this says, it's saying use the theorem numbering system. So for like lemmas, use the theorem numbering system. For proposition, use the theorem numbering system, and so on and so forth. So now when I run this, it should say definition 1, theorem 2, proposition 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, and that's what we get right there. Now, what will typically happen in a mathematical document, you'll have sections. So I'm going to do begin section. Whoops, not that. I'm going to do section, and I'll call this intro. Whoops. Okay, so now I'm going to run this, and you see what's going to happen is that it's going to say section 1, and definition 1, instead of being definition 1, it'll be definition 1.1. This will be theorem 1.2. So the first one will have to do with this section. Oh no, sorry. So now, I forgot the last thing I need to do. So I'm going to come up here to theorem and say section. Now what this means is every time there's a new section, the theorem counter is going to be reset. But everything is using the theorem counter. So then what this means is that the counter for everything is going to get reset. So when there's a new section. So I've got definition 1.1, theorem 1.2. If I were to come right here and let's just say put in a new section, I'll just call it next part. So whatever you put here in brackets is going to be what goes there. let's see what happens. Now it's section 2, and now this remark, it was remark 1.5. It's a new section, so the counter is going to start again, and you're going to have remark 2.1, and now proposition 2.2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so a lot of times what you might want to do is you might want to, let's say, keep the remarks numbered, like separately from all of the theorems and stuff like that. So if you want to do something like that, we can just get rid of this, and now I'm going to recompile, and now the remarks are going to be on their own number, so remark 1 here. Okay, if I want to kind of order the remarks by section, in other words, have the counter reset each section, I can do something like this. And now it's going to be remark 2.1 and then proposition 2.1. So I personally prefer to just have everything. I personally prefer just to have everything numbered. Whoops. Sorry. I prefer to have everything on the same numbering system. So it's going to be definition 1.1 and then theorem 1.2. So there's not going to be like a definition 1 and then a theorem 1. It's just, that's how I prefer it. There's many different ways to think through, or many different things to think through when you do something like this. But anyways, that's just the basics of numberings. There's other things that you can look here to do different type of numberings and things like that. Oh, the last thing I want is going to be unnumbered theorem. So sometimes it depends on what I'm writing. A lot of times I won't even want there to be a number on the theorem. So to do that, we're going to do the following. So we're going to do new theorem star. So star basically means it's sort of the idiom for no numbers. So there's a command called new theorem star. And here, I'm going to call my command here, I'm going to put, sorry. Here I'm going to put theorem star. And then I'm going to do, it's still going to say theorem. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down here and begin new theorem star, end new theorem star, and there's going to be one thing that I need to change. What did I misspell? Oh, I did new theorem. What is the matter with me? I think I spelled this wrong too. T-H-E-O. Man. All right. There we go. So theorem, it's not numbered. Okay, yeah. So there we go. And we do theorem star like a begin. Yeah. Okay. Like with a line, there's a line and a line star. A line will number it. A line star will not number it. Okay. So I can't remember if I did a line star, but this would be. And notice what's going to happen. There's not going to be a number. However, if I do this, it'll give me an equation number there. Okay, so that's all I want to talk about numbering for theorems. I think that's really all I want to talk about theorems now as well. So that's it for this video.